me, some of the most important research that's coming out at the moment is from Carol Dweck's group in Stanford. And I think what we're seeing from that research is that kids' view of themselves as learners really impacts their outcomes. And what we're seeing is that we can profoundly influence students' view of themselves as learners. When students start to focus on learning, on their learning goals, on the distance that they've travelled, what we see is that their grades actually start to rise. Regardless of their actual performance levels, their grades start to rise. And so it gives students the ability to think about their learning, and if they come across a problem, now there's an opportunity. It's not a barrier that can't be got over. It's a barrier that is an opportunity for learning. And so they'll go and work collaboratively with other students. They might go and look for some assistance from the teacher. But once they've got that assistance, they'll say, stop, no, okay, I can do it myself now. And the students are coming back and developing that learning for themselves. And so they're really focusing, those particular students are really focusing on the learning outcomes. What we see, though, is that about half of students will focus on their performance. And what we see for these students is that they think of themselves as being this smart and no smarter. They might think of their intelligence as being something that's genetic, something that's delivered to them. These are students that may have in the past got messages about, because of their socioeconomic status, because of their school, because of their community, this is how smart you are. And often that's those messages that students are getting are telling them that they're not very smart at all. And that has an impact on students' view of themselves as learners and really starts to focus on their performance levels. Now, for these students, when you come up against a problem, there's nowhere to go. And so what we see is that these students will either bang their heads against the wall with the one strategy that they've got, or they will withdraw and say, I'm just not smart enough to do this. And these students also make interesting choices in their education, because these students will not come back for education opportunities, because if they've been tested, if they've seen themselves performing at a certain level, why come back for more? Because your view of yourself as a learner says, this is how smart you are, and all you're coming back for is another hit to your self-esteem. And so as students become more and more focused on their performance, as the sorts of assessments and testing regimes we put in place focus them on their performance compared to other students, what we see is that, again, regardless of their actual level of performance, their grades either stagnate and flatten out or go on a downwards trajectory. Interestingly, this work has shown us that if we shift students' view of themselves as learners, if we shift the values of the organisation over towards learning rather than performance, the trajectory changes. That downward slide that students have turns around and becomes an upward trajectory, and their grades improve and improve and improve.